Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Right off the bat, I want to thank everyone for the people who have been watching my videos. Thank you for the views, the likes. I'm finally starting to get some comments, and I appreciate those, and especially to the people that are subscribing to the channel. It means a lot to me. This takes a little bit of work, so anytime you see any kind of good come from the work that you're doing, it always makes you want to try a little bit harder to keep it going and keep the channel growing and keep making content that you guys want to come back and see. So I really appreciate that. Today I'm going to talk about a worm technique and a finesse technique that over the years was shared with me. And with all the stuff that's out there today, you don't hear this particular rig talked about very often. There's so many new things in tackle and in baits and techniques coming down the pipe all the time. From finesse to big swim baits to glide baits and so many different ways of rigging stuff. And this is kind of an old school, almost a forgotten about kind of deal. But today I figured I'd talk some about it because it's something, when fishing's really tough, for me, it's always been something I could go to just to get bites. And one of the coolest things about fishing to me is the bite. I know everybody's got little things with fishing that they like, that kind of the things that they look forward to the most. But one of the things to me is I just love getting bit. So this little technique has always done that for me. The technique I'm talking about is called slider head fishing. Now, a lot of people throw shaky head, Nico rig, Ned rig, drop shot. There's so many things out there, like I said. But this is something that, for me, it's a particular time it really seems to shine and work well, and I just want to talk a little bit about that today. Now, the Charlie Brewer, this guy was known, I guess in the 70s and 80s is when he kind of got popular. He made a lot of crappie jigs, and he made a lot of jigs for 4-inch plastic worms. Well, several years later, first of all, I would say if you've ever fished with those, you know the hooks on those aren't really made for bass fishing. Those jig heads, the hooks are just not stout or strong enough for when you're bass fishing. But years later, he came out with it's called a Pro slider head. It's actually called the Charlie Brewer Spider Pro slider head, and it's got a much stronger hook. It's a big, not big, but a good strong 2/0 hook in this particular jig head I'm talking about. And I started fishing with these. Actually, they were recommended to me by a guy in an old club I used to fish in. And they have been a real good producer for me ever since I started throwing them. I only throw it in 3 sizes. This is the 16th ounce. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is the 16th ounce. And I only throw that in a particular situation, and I'll get to that towards the end of the video. This is the 8th ounce, and this is the one I throw 80% of the time. And this is the 3/16 ounce, which I throw, the rest of the time. Most of the time, because of when I'm fishing this, I throw it on 8th ounce. Now, here's the thing with this. The key with this rig, this jig head, is the way that it falls. It's got a gliding action, and I guess it's because of the shape of the head and the way it's positioned on the hook. When you pair this up with a zoom trick run, and everyone has a different way that they rig the trick worm. I get that, Some people lay it on the side, some people lay it on the top, some people lay it on the bottom. This right here, you pair this head up with a Zoom trick, and it could probably be any trick worm. I just use Zoom trick worms most often. I usually only use 4 colors: black, June bug, watermelon red, real clear water, and green pumpkin magic. And there's one other color. I'm going to save that to the end of the video because it's just a little something I've done over the years, and I'm not saying I'm the one who came up with it, because I'm sure I'm not. I'm sure lots of other people do it. But the fall of this bait is what gets it bit. It's got a gliding action the way it falls down through the water column, and 90% of your bites are going to occur before it ever hits the bottom. There's certain times of the year when fish want to bite. The bite is before the bait ever gets bottom. The fall of the bait is everything. The rate of fall, that's everything. In the spring, up until the spawn, a lot of times, I've noticed it can be that way. And even until the early summer. Now when you get to the summer, it becomes more of the bait's going to be on the bottom, and that's when I think your shaky head comes more into play, because you want that worm standing up on the bottom, you know. And with this rig, this worm is not going to stand up. That's why it's more of a fall presentation. The fall of the bait is what gets it bit. It comes through cover really, really well. It doesn't get hung up very much at all. A lot of times with your shaky head, it has a tendency, because of the ball head jig on the shaky head, most of them, they don't come through cover as well. This thing comes through cover really, really good. It's a do-nothing technique, honestly. It's simple to fish. You pretty much just cast it out to the cover or to the drop off or whatever it is you're fishing, and you just drag and drop. You don't hop it. You don't have to impart a lot of action to it. You just want to cast it out, and you want to drag it and let it fall. And drag it and let it fall. Because the fall is what gets the bites. Like I said, 90% of the time they're hitting this and it never gets to the bottom. So the more times you can get it to drop and fall, obviously that should improve the number of bites you get. It does require patience because of the slow way that you have to fish it, and I think maybe that's what keeps a lot of people away from it. I'm not sure. And I ain't the most patient person in the world, but I've caught enough fish with this that I know if I keep it in my hand, especially on tough days, bluebird sky, high pressure days, or when there's a lot of pressure on the water, and the way you've been catching them don't seem to be cutting it. The fish just ain't reacting the same, aren't biting the same. This is something that I've always been able to turn to just to get bites. Another thing about this is how good it skips. And part of that is because of the trick worm. But this head, it skips very, very well around boat docks, and anytime you got cover on the shoreline and you're trying to get underneath it, this bait right here skips really, really good. When fishing is, like I said, when fishing is really tough, it can get you bites on slow days. You can't seem to get bit on anything else. And again, the bite is the thing to me that it's one of the things I love about fishing. When you get that fish to bite and you initially feel it, whether it's with a crankbait or the top water and seeing the bite, this bite is the same thing. It goes from gliding and you see your line just kind of stop and go off to the left or right. That's pretty cool, and that's one of the cool things about fishing that I really like. And now again, talking about the weights, 1/8 ounce is what I use probably 80% of the time. And it doesn't really matter the water depth, because I know it's a very, very slow fall to the bottom, especially when you're fishing deep water, but I know how many bites I get with this. So I'm patient enough now to stick with it and deal with the slow rate of fall and it getting to the bottom. occasionally I will go, like I said, to the 3/16. It's a little bit heavier. Now there is, I told you earlier, there's one time that I like to use and I know in the spring everyone throws, well, a lot of people throw the trick worms and methylate, the white, the pink, the real bright colored worms in the spring, especially right before the spawn and after the spawn, like when the bass are garden fry. And I used to have days where it was like they wouldn't commit to the trick worm. They'd swipe at it, but they wouldn't get it. It's like they didn't want to come all the way to the surface after. So I started just one day, out of frustration really, I started putting one of these pro slider heads on the 16th ounce weight on it, the real tiny one, and the bait still has a lot of good action to it, but it keeps it a little bit further down in the water column, and I would start to get more bites with it on days when they would come up and swipe at this methylate worm but wouldn't eat it. So, and one other thing, sometimes when you're on the water, you know how you just say, I'm going to just try something different? I have tried putting a nail weight in the end of this, along with putting this, and if you can get a 16th ounce nail weight and put it in the tail along with this head, and watch the fall of this. So the spring to me, and I figured some of this out on my own, but there were people when I first got into fishing, the first club I was ever in, there were a lot of older fishermen in there, and they would always talk about rate of fall, rate of fall, rate of fall. And for some reason that always stuck in my head, especially in the springtime. And little weights like this to baits that you usually don't use a lot of weight on, it's crazy sometimes how they just get you extra bites. And again, the bite is the thing. You hear people say, what is it? The tug is my drug. Well, I guess the bite is that for me. And that was part of the reasons why I wanted to do this channel, to show people things, little tricks, little things that people have shown me over the years that just might help people catch more fish, because that's what this all, it's all about. I want to thank everybody again for watching. I appreciate it. The channel is doing pretty well. I'm glad I decided to do this. I've been thinking it for a while, and I finally said, you know what, I'm just gonna do it and let it run its course and see how things go. And I appreciate the likes and the comments. Keep them coming, and please subscribe to the channel to help it keep growing. If you have other people that you fish with, or friends you have, or buddies you got that are into YouTube fishing, recommend my channel to them. I'm going to keep coming up with things that I think will help people catch more fish, because that's what this is about. And again, I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll be coming out with another video soon. My goal for now is to do one a week. The weather has been crazy around here where I live now, and with work and the weather and just other things going on right now, I haven't been able to get on the water in the last 2 to 3 weeks, but I'm hoping to start doing on the water stuff again soon. So tournament season starts in about a month. My first one, Derby, will be in about a month, so I plan on putting my tournament on video, good or bad, no matter how I do. I'm going to show everybody. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope everybody has a great day, and tight lines.